Hey guys. So this is something I think I'm going to start doing. There's two reasons for it. I watch a couple guys, Josh and Alex, Target Audience. If you want, definitely check out their channel. They do like kind of horror, thriller, reaction, sci-fi kind of stuff. They're doing Star Trek The Next Generation. They're about to do Deep Space Nine. So I've already seen the show a number of times, right? But I enjoy reaction channels where you get to kind of see it again for the first time through someone else. And so what I thought I'd do is I would make a companion to their reaction, basically my thoughts and reaction to their reaction, and then things that I thought about as a result. So like they just watched I don't know, I may have to put it in the title, I'll have to look it up, but the one with the exocomps and Data and down on the planet and the scientist and Geordi and whatever, and Data realizes that these exocomps are alive actually. And so I'm watching the review, and you know, growing up, it was never one of my favorite episodes. I had a couple friends that were really into Star Trek. The three of us would just watch Star Trek to death. But we kind of, unlike Alex and Josh there, we kind of gravitated towards the nerdier stuff and the techno babble and the ship designs and, you know, stuff like that. We always kind of were really into that. So I'm starting to realize that, like, I think some of that stuff affected how I looked at certain episodes. Because I think when I was younger, seeing this for the first time, maybe 15, 16, I thought this was, you know, I agree with some of the people that when they were going through the reviews, the patron takes or whatever at the end, and a lot of people were like kind of so on the episode, and I was like, you know what, that's kind of how I felt before watching their reaction. So now, after seeing their take, how much they enjoyed the episode, and yeah, everything that they said is really true about like this kind of coming full circle from Measure of a Man and Picard, you know, helping Data, you know, be able to get his rights, and even the next time that you see that with Lal and the Admiral and Picard yet again kind of putting his foot down and saying, you know, he has rights, I helped establish those rights, and you know, if you're going to go beyond that, or if you're not going to recognize it, then I will take this as far, you know, to Starfleet as possible, or that I have to. So I was like, yeah, you know what, this is a really good character-based episode for Data. A good story development and, or, you know, character development, more story, flesh out this kind of one aspect that took place in Measure of a Man, this through line that you get, that you really kind of see this be almost like the tail end of that storyline, where you see Data come full circle. He's willing to do something to jeopardize his own career in Starfleet to save a life of a newly established life form in these exocomps. And I was like, yeah, you know what, this is a really good take and a really good character, you know, episode. And the fact that Data's willing to shut off the transporters and stuff, we obviously have seen that he's able to commandeer the ship if he wanted to, if you know, if push came to shove. What is it, in Brothers or whatever, the one where he meets Dr. Soong on the planet with Lore and whatever, and you know, you kind of get to see like how menacing he could be if he really wanted to. But this is the first time of like, no, he's doing this intentionally, because he morally believes in the cause. He's trying to defend these life forms. So I thought it was a good take, and this is the first episode of their channel that I've rewatched like I think I rewatched it twice after my first initial reaction. Not all of their talk about after the episode, but just their reaction portion, I rewatched twice. And I was like, man, these guys are loving it. They called out the Jonathan Frakes directing, and with the shaky cam and the movement and stuff. And I was like, damn, good eye. I didn't even realize that was one of the episodes he directed. Yeah, there's some good ones he directed, but I'm not really looking at episodes as far as like, oh, this so-and-so director. And, I appreciate, cinematic shots or lighting and different, things in different episodes, but, I'm not like, oh, Cliff Bull or, oh, Jonathan Frakes is, an amazing director. I appreciate that an episode looks polished or, whatever. But anyway, so I thought I would make these companion videos with my thoughts on the episode and my thoughts on their reaction. So if you guys like their channel and you guys want to watch their reaction, great. And then if you guys want to kind of hear what I think about what they had to say about it, maybe what some of the patrons takes are, Patreon members, whatever. And yeah, I think, some of them are in the same boat that I was in, where if I would have not watched their review, I probably would have put this episode at like a mid-tier, like a C or a B episode. But it wasn't until I kind of saw their enthusiasm that kind of sparked my interest in the episode. I was like, yeah, you know what? They're right. Like, this is a really good take. This episode's really well done. To see, a character like Data, who is emotionless and whatever, to have him stand on his laurels and stand up for another being's life or their rights, just like Picard did for him, and him even mentioning that and referencing that. I was almost surprised he didn't bring up the trial with Riker. Now, that's the thing. I can't remember if there was any mention of that. I'm watching their reaction, and it's obviously edited for YouTube. But the fact that, Riker was the opposing side in Measure of a Man, and that he had to do that or the case would have been thrown out. But I'm surprised he didn't, mention that in that scene. And maybe he did, I can't remember. But if he would have been like, do you remember when, we were doing this, in Measure of a Man? Or do you remember when you basically helped me get my rights? So, I'm trying to do nothing less for this life form. Have them be heard for an alien or a life form that can't speak for themselves. And, I think it's an honorable thing to do. I think Data was clearly in the right. And I appreciate Picard's stance instead of trying to, punish him for it. There have been times where somebody stood up for what they believed in, and Picard still gave them, a reprimand on their record or something, and said, I'm sorry, you may have done the right thing, but as far as Starfleet goes, it wasn't, and, I'm putting a formal reprimand in your permanent file or something. Stuff like that has been done or does happen in the show eventually. And so it's not always without a repercussion. Luckily Data was able to get through to Riker, and Picard kind of saw it the same way. But if you were to get some other captain, let's say Captain Jellicoe or, certain other captains, maybe they wouldn't be so forgiving and, get relieved of duty or get, kicked off the ship or something, some crazy thing. So, but anyway, yeah, I really liked their take on it. I liked how hyped and excited they were, how emotional they got, when the one exocomp has to sacrifice itself to save the other two, and it is messed up that other exocomps have just been probably showing the same signs of life, and she just keeps resetting it back to, and this is completely different. And you guys, if you don't know, if you haven't watched that far, but reminds me a lot of Doctor stuff, the Doctor from Voyager, which you guys will see and get to eventually someday. And I'm not going to go into any details, but it reminded me a little bit of scenarios with the Doctor. And so yeah, I really enjoyed it. This is the first time, like I said, ever where I went back and rewatched their reaction immediately after watching the episode. I watched the full thing and then went back, rewound it, watched it again, and seeing their eyes glare at the dialogue with Beverly and Worf, and seeing them get excited about some of these things happening, and it was a lot of fun. So in the future, I think I'm going to start doing these follow-ups after their reaction. I'll post it. I'll title it capture the moments, target audience reaction or something to episode, and I'll have it be the name of the episode and the number episode, stuff like that. And hopefully some of you guys out there will enjoy it. So, all right, see you next time.